Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In the videos we release here, we obviously speak a lot about health, okay, how we can preserve health, how we can optimize health, how we can maximize longevity, prevent disease. But one of the most powerful predictors of health is actually our happiness. And we know there's decades of research now showing that our levels of happiness, our levels of contentment are one of the biggest independent predictors of higher health status, higher levels of energy, reduced disease risk factors, even increased longevity. So this is so important. Okay, so because of that, we have to ask ourselves a question: what things can we do that can transform our happiness? Okay, not externally, not through getting a bigger house or posher holidays or more money in the bank, because those things can be taken away from us. They're transient, superficial sources of happiness. Okay, what we're interested in is something called eudaimonic happiness, happiness that comes from within. Okay, and in that capacity, I think we can learn a beautiful lesson. Okay, which is quite a strange practice, but it's a transformative one. It's one that I've been using for a couple of years now. And to understand it, we need to look at the world's happiest people. Okay, if we look at the research into happiness quotas and overall levels of happiness, there's one country that reigns supreme in terms of its overall levels of happiness, and that country is Bhutan. Okay, Bhutan values happiness as its most important national asset. Okay, more so than financial assets, financial productivity, and things like that. It's all about the happiness of its inhabitants and its people. Okay, and there's one practice that the people in Bhutan swear by that is responsible for why these people are so happy. And this is one of the poorest countries in the world. They have hardly any material abundance, but they are profoundly happy. And why? When you ask these communities what makes them so happy, they have one practice. Okay, and it sounds very odd and very unusual on the surface. Dig a bit deeper and we can see why. They say, when asked why you say happy, why are you so happy? They say that we have been taught since childhood to think of our own deaths at least 5 times a day. Okay. And obviously, there's a degree of poetic license there, but they say we have been instructed to, in our culture, to consciously think of our death 5 times a day, to think of our mortality 5 times a day. And this is a practice that lots of the Greek philosophers, Socrates, developed his mentality of mortality. Okay, his mentality of mortality, bringing his consciousness onto the fact that one day he will die. Okay, these aren't dark concepts or depressing concepts. Quite the opposite, they're very uplifting concepts. Okay, because by bringing our conscious awareness onto the fact that one day, relatively speaking, in a blink of an eye, we're all going to die. We won't be here any longer. Okay, what does that do? It forces us, it makes us live more brightly, okay, more proactively, more powerfully, more purposely. Okay, purposefully, because think of anything that you love or value. Think about your husband, your wife, your children. Okay, we love them and they make us happy. But imagine if your husband or wife or children were going away for a year next week. Okay, in the next 7 days before they left and you wouldn't see them for a year, you would value them and treasure them and make special memories with them and go out for a special meal a lot more consciously because you knew they would be taken away. Okay, if you knew you couldn't have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or your favorite food for 2 months, you would really cherish and value and treasure that tea or coffee or meal over the next week before you had to give it up because you knew you'd be giving it up. Okay, it's the same with our lives. When we bring our mindset, when we bring our awareness onto the fact that, in a very short period of time, relatively speaking, we will die, what does it do? It makes us cherish ourselves more. It makes us cherish our lives more. And rather than just cruising on autopilot, doing the same thing day after day, it makes us sit up and say, right, how do I construct, how do I engineer my life to make it more brilliant? How do I bring more love, more happiness, more purpose, more meaning, more value, more brilliance into it? What simple things can I do every day to transform my life? Because that mentality of mortality keeps in mind our transience, which keeps in mind the beauty of our lives because we know it's going to end. Okay. And there's lots of philosophical texts and books and theories about this. And all I know is, as someone who's tried to practice this over the last couple of years, having read about it and read about the research around it, I can say with absolute sincerity that it has a really discernible, almost profound impact upon our daily qualities of our quality of life. Okay, because it makes us treasure the small things. Okay, the simple cup of coffee in the garden with the sun on your face, when your husband or wife or children first get up in the morning, rather than just saying good morning absent-mindedly, really seeing them as if for the first time, really treasuring them. Okay, thinking about this day, how could I make sure that I'm nourishing my body with great food? How can I protect time for hobbies and passions? How can I be of better service to the people around me, whatever it may be? So it's a brilliant practice. Okay, that mentality of mortality in the Greek tradition, in the Bhutanese tradition, consciously bringing to mind every day our mortality. It helps us live more brightly. Okay, it helps us live more powerfully, more with more awareness, more mindfully, and that can only ever lead to higher levels of happiness and higher levels of contentment, and that in turn will always lead to higher levels of health. Okay, so it's a bit of an unusual practice, it's a bit of an abstract practice, but it's a profound one. It's one that's backed in philosophical science, it's one that's backed in clinical research. So give it a go. Any questions? I'd love to hear your responses to it in the comments. As always, if you'd like to stay updated to these weekly videos, please do subscribe to the channel so you get notified when they are released. And I will see you all soon.